My beloved friends, I stand before you today to reveal a profound truth that has been veiled behind layers of misinterpretation and commercialization. The so-called law of attraction, as it's commonly taught today, is not what the ancient wisdom truly conveyed, nor is it what I, Neville Goddard, have been sharing with the world for decades. What if I told you that everything you've been desperately trying to attract from the outside world already exists within you? What if the vision boards, the endless affirmations, the constant visualization exercises, while not entirely without merit, are missing the fundamental principle that makes manifestation not just possible, but inevitable? For those who don't know me, I spent my life studying and teaching the true art of creation, not as some mystical secret, but as the very foundation of human experience that has been taught by the great spiritual texts throughout history. The Bible itself, when read through spiritual eyes rather than historical ones, reveals this truth on every page. After countless lectures across America, after publishing numerous books revealing these principles, I've watched as my teachings have been diluted, misunderstood, and often corrupted into something that bears little resemblance to the original truth. Today, I aim to restore that truth to its rightful place in your understanding. There are 3 devastating misconceptions that have kept you from experiencing the fullness of your creative power. 3 fundamental errors that, once corrected, will transform not just what you can manifest, but your entire understanding of reality itself. My dear friends, you have been taught that manifestation is about attracting things from outside yourself. You have been told that through enough effort, enough focus, enough high vibration, you can somehow pull your desires from some external universe into your life. This is the first and perhaps most crippling misconception. The whole vast world is no more than man's imagining pushed out. I have always taught, I am all imagination, and imagination is all of me. These are not poetic metaphors, but the literal structure of existence. The world you experience is not separate from you. It is you externalized. It is the contents of your consciousness made visible. Consider for a moment, when you dream at night, where do the characters, the settings, the circumstances of your dream come from? Do you attract them from outside yourself, or do they emerge from within your own consciousness? Your waking reality functions by the same principle. It is your consciousness pushed out, externalized into what appears as separate, objective reality. This is why affirmations often fail. This is why vision boards can remain just pretty collages on your wall year after year. You are attempting to attract what already exists within you. The fundamental shift must occur not in your actions, but in your understanding of your relationship to the world. Man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. I have said repeatedly throughout my teachings, every effect you see in your world has its cause in your consciousness, not in your actions, not in your words, not even in your surface thoughts, but in your state of consciousness, in what you accept as real. The second misconception that has kept you bound is the belief that manifestation requires repetition, constant affirming, visualizing, and focusing on your desire. But I ask you, does a farmer plant a seed and then dig it up every day to check on its progress? Does he replant it repeatedly, fearing it won't grow unless he continually interferes? No, and neither should you with the seeds of your imagination. Feeling is the secret, as I titled one of my most important works. It is not the repetition of words or images that creates, but the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Once you have planted the seed by experiencing in your imagination the feeling of already having what you desire, your work is done. The law operates infallibly, without need for your constant attention or worry. In fact, such attention often reveals your doubt, your disbelief in the reality of what you've imagined, and what you truly believe is what manifests. Imagination creates reality, I have always taught. Not imagination gradually influences reality if you keep at it long enough. Creation is finished. All possible states exist now. Your task is simply to enter the state that corresponds with your desire, to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and then allow the law to work its perfect manifestation in its own time and way. The third misconception, perhaps the most insidious of all, is that manifestation requires positive thinking, high vibrations, or some special emotional state. This has created generations of spiritual practitioners who suppress their true feelings, who paste smiles over their pain, who feel guilty for experiencing the full range of human emotions. But I have never taught such things. What I have taught is the law of assumption. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, not as some future possibility, but as present fact. This doesn't require positivity. It requires the natural feeling that would be yours if your desire were already accomplished. The first shocking truth about manifestation is that there is nothing to attract. The world you see is your consciousness pushed out. Everything you could possibly desire already exists within you, waiting to be recognized, claimed, and externalized through the power of your assumption. Now, let us delve deeper into the first misconception I began to unveil for you, that manifestation is about attracting things from outside yourself. My beloved friends, I have always taught that the whole vast world is nothing more than your own consciousness pushed out. This is not metaphorical language. This is the literal structure of existence. When I walked this earth and delivered my lectures, I emphasized repeatedly that there is no separation between you and your desires. The belief in separation, that what you want exists apart from you and must somehow be obtained, is the very illusion that keeps you from experiencing your desires made manifest. In my lecture, Consciousness is the only reality, I stated clearly. The world exists because you are aware of it. Your consciousness is the one and only substance of your experience. Everything you perceive, every person, every circumstance, every physical object is simply your consciousness externalized. Consider this example from my own experience that I shared many times during my lectures. A dear friend of mine desired a promotion that seemed impossible given the company's strict policies and hierarchy. Rather than focusing on attracting this promotion or manipulating external circumstances, I instructed him to assume the state of consciousness of already being in that position. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, I told him, the state that you have assumed, though false to your conscious reasoning mind, is made real by your assumption. The state becomes externalized by your assumption, regardless of any evidence to the contrary. My friend did as I instructed. Each night before sleep, he would imagine his superior congratulating him on his promotion. He didn't visualize how it would happen or affirmatively state, I am getting promoted. Instead, he simply lived from the end, feeling the satisfaction, relief, and accomplishment of already having received the promotion. Within 2 weeks, despite all company policies to the contrary, a sequence of unexpected events led to his promotion to precisely the position he had imagined. The external reality reorganized itself to match his assumed state of consciousness. This is the law I have always taught. Now let us address the second grave misconception, that manifestation requires constant repetition and effort. In my book, The Power of Awareness, I wrote, "You need do nothing about this fulfilled state. For as you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, your dimensionally greater self determines the means of fulfillment." The conventional teachings tell you to visualize repeatedly, to affirm constantly, to maintain unwavering focus on your desire. But I ask you, does a woman who has conceived need to keep conceiving repeatedly for the child to be born? Once conception has taken place, once you have truly assumed the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the seed has been planted. Your work then is not repetition, but acceptance. Faith is simply loyalty to the unseen reality of your assumption. The moment you truly feel yourself to be what you desire to be, creation is finished. What remains is not your work, but the work of the law, which operates with mathematic precision to externalize your assumption. Let me share another powerful example. A student once approached me, desperate to resolve a painful lawsuit that threatened to consume his life savings. He had been practicing affirmations and visualizations for months with no result. The situation continued to worsen. I told him, your repeated affirmations reveal your lack of faith in what you're affirming. If you truly believed the lawsuit was resolved, would you need to remind yourself of it constantly? Instead, I instructed him to experience, just once, but with complete intensity of feeling, the relief and satisfaction of the lawsuit being settled favorably. Feel the relief so completely, I said, that when you open your eyes, you will be like one who has awakened from a dream. You will be so convinced of the reality of what you have felt that you need never repeat the state again. He did as instructed. The next morning, he received a call from his attorney informing him of an unexpected settlement offer that resolved the entire matter favorably. The intense, singular experience of the feeling of his wish fulfilled was infinitely more powerful than months of repetitive technique. This brings us to the third and perhaps most damaging misconception, that manifestation requires positive thinking and high vibrations. Many teachers will tell you that negative emotions block manifestation, that you must maintain positivity to create effectively. This has led countless seekers into the trap of emotional suppression and spiritual bypassing. But I have never taught such limitations. What I have taught is the law of assumption. An assumption, I wrote, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Your assumptions, not your emotions, create your reality. You need not be perpetually positive. You need not eliminate all negative thoughts. You need only assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and this assumption transcends both positive and negative thinking as they are conventionally understood. Consider my teaching of revision, a technique I often shared in my lectures. Revision does not deny negative experiences. It transforms them through the constructive use of imagination. If you've had a difficult day, you need not pretend it was wonderful in some form of toxic positivity. Instead, before you revise the day as you would have preferred it to unfold, feeling the satisfaction of the improved experience. This is not denial or suppression, but creative transformation. Through revision, you are not avoiding negative emotions, but rather using the creative power of consciousness to rewrite your experience. The difference is profound. The law of assumption I teach is vastly different from the commonly taught law of attraction. The law of attraction suggests that like attracts like, that positive thoughts attract positive experiences. But the law of assumption reveals that what you consciously assume to be true, regardless of present evidence, will harden into fact. Your assumption doesn't attract your desire, it creates it. Or, more accurately, it reveals what already exists in the infinite possible states of consciousness available to you. The whole vast world, I have said, is yourself pushed out. There is nothing to attract that is not already within you, waiting to be assumed and therefore experienced. My dear friends, we have unveiled 3 revolutionary truths that have been obscured by the popularized teachings of manifestation. First, the world is not separate from you, but is your consciousness pushed out. There is nothing to attract because everything already exists within you as an infinite variety of states of consciousness. Second, manifestation does not require repetition, but the singular, powerful experience of the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Once truly felt, the seed is planted and your work is done. Third, manifestation does not demand perpetual positivity, but simply the assumption of the state that would be yours if your desire were already fulfilled. Now, let me offer you a practical exercise that embodies these truths, one that you can experience immediately after this video concludes. This evening, as you prepare for sleep, I want you to engage in what I call the most creative state of consciousness, the moments between wakefulness and sleep. The drowsy, hypnagogic state provide direct access to your subconscious mind, where all creation begins. Lie comfortably in your bed and allow your body to relax completely. As drowsiness begins to envelop you, bring to mind a desire that you wish to realize. Choose something specific and meaningful, perhaps a new position at work, a harmonious relationship, improved health, or financial abundance. Now, here is the crucial step that distinguishes this practice from conventional visualization. Do not picture your desire as something to be obtained in the future. Instead, create a scene that implies your desire is already fulfilled. For example, if your desire is a promotion at work, imagine a brief scene where a colleague is congratulating you on your new position. Feel their hand shaking yours, hear their words of praise, experience the satisfaction and fulfillment that would be yours in that moment. The scene should be simple and concise, no more than a few seconds if played in real time, but within that scene must be contained the implication that your desire is already accomplished. Now, as you begin to drift towards sleep, enter this scene. Do not merely observe it as a spectator, but step into it as a participant. Feel the solidity of the handshake. Hear the clarity of the congratulatory words. Experience the emotional satisfaction of your desire fulfilled. The secret is to feel the naturalness of the scene, the sense that this is not an imagined event but your actual experience in this moment. As Shakespeare wrote and as I often quoted, assume a virtue if you have it not. You need not repeat this scene endlessly. Experience it with such intensity of feeling that it takes on the tone of reality. Then allow yourself to drift into sleep carrying this feeling with you. In sleep, man impresses the subconscious with his conception of himself. I have taught the feeling, not the visualization, not the words, not the actions, is the creative power. Feeling is the secret, as I titled one of my most important works. The feeling of your wish fulfilled is the secret creative force of the universe. You may find that this single experience, if truly felt, is sufficient. But if you wish to repeat the exercise on subsequent nights, do so not from anxiety that it hasn't worked, but from the joy of experiencing the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Some of you may be wondering, but what if doubts arise during the day? What if I cannot maintain this feeling consistently? My answer is simple. You need not maintain it consistently. Your conscious, waking mind will naturally doubt what the senses deny. This is expected and does not negate the work you've done. The seed has been planted in the subconscious, and like any seed, it requires darkness and time to germinate. When doubts arise, do not fight them or judge yourself for experiencing them. Simply recognize them as part of the process, and when possible, gently return to the feeling of your wish fulfilled, not as an affirmation or a visualization, but as a state of being that you temporarily inhabit. Others may ask, how long will it take for my desire to manifest? Remember my teaching that time is merely a measurement of intervals between states of consciousness. Some seeds germinate quickly, others require more time. The law operates with perfect precision according to the nature of your desire and the conviction of your assumption. The time it takes your assumption to become fact, I have written, your desire to become reality, depends upon the intensity of your desire and the degree of your belief. Focus not on when, but on the intensity of your feeling now. Now, let me address perhaps the most common objection. I've tried techniques like this before, and they haven't worked. If previous attempts have failed, it is not because the law has failed, but because you have not actually entered the state of consciousness of your wish fulfilled. Visualization without feeling is empty, ritual. Affirmation without assumption is merely words. The creative act is not completed until you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not imagined it, not affirmed it, but experienced it as reality in your imagination. My beloved friends, now that you understand what I truly taught, not the commercialized, diluted versions that have been marketed under my name, you can cease the endless striving, the constant techniques, the repetitive practices that have yielded little fruit. You are not attracting your desires from some external universe. You are selecting which state of consciousness you will inhabit, and by your selection, determining which aspects of the infinite variety of your consciousness will be externalized as your experience. I am all imagination, and imagination is all of me. This is not poetic metaphor, but the literal structure of existence. The world you experience is you, pushed out, your consciousness externalized. Begin tonight with the simple exercise I've shared. Enter the state akin to sleep, and feel yourself into the reality of your wish fulfilled. Do this with the innocent wonderment of a child engaged in play, for whom the imagined is as real as what adults call reality. The kingdom of heaven is within you, and all that you seek is already there, waiting to be recognized, claimed, and experienced through the divine faculty of your human imagination. Remember always my central teaching. You are already that which you want to be, and your refusal to believe it is the only reason you do not see it. Your journey is not one of attainment, but of recognition, the recognition of what you already are, have always been, and will forever be. The revelation I offer you today is not new. It is the ancient wisdom that has been taught through the ages, hidden in plain sight in the spiritual texts of the world. But now, freed from misconception and misinterpretation, may it serve as the light that guides you to the conscious expression of your divine creative power. Begin tonight. Enter the state akin to sleep. Feel the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and watch as the world reshapes itself to match the state you have assumed, for that is the law, and the law never fails.